What's going on, Slay Baes? It's Ashley and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I thought it would be really fun to sit down and show you how to instantly look put together without putting in that much effort. Like, don't get me wrong, we're still gonna put in effort, but it's not gonna be like a cut crease or anything too complicated. This look is very, very user-friendly. I'm using an affordable eyeshadow palette that I mentioned in my Best of Beauty drugstore favorites, so stay tuned for that. Also for liner, I'm not going to use like a liquid liner. I'm going to use more eyeshadow than anything because it's very, very forgiving. So if you guys are new here, don't forget to press that subscribe button. It's completely free and you guys know how we get down on this channel. If it's free, it's for me. So if it's free, I know it's for you too. While you're at it, also don't forget to click that little bell. It's a bell that notifies you anytime I upload, which is every Monday and Wednesday at 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be going back and forth between the two times. So actually let me know what time you guys prefer, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that, let me zoom you in so that way we can get started on the look. So to start, my brows are already done. Reason being is that I did film an Instagram brow tutorial. It will be up within the next few days, so if you guys want to see that, definitely follow me over on the gram. What I'm doing now is I am priming my eyelids with a little bit of the Revolution Pro Eye Elements Eye Primer in the shade Core. This is a spot-on dupe for MAC Soft Ochre. If you guys haven't gotten your hands on this primer, you really need to because it is very, very incredible. Very, very incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It mutes out my eyelids like no other and it acts as a really nice base for my eyeshadow application. Alright, so after eye primer, I am going to go in with eyeshadow and I will be using the Becky G in Colourpop Hola Chola palette. You guys, this has definitely become one of my absolute favorite palettes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of a little smiley and Cholita together and I'm going to rock this back and forth in the socket of my crease to act as my transitional color. And the reason I'm mixing the two together is simply for the purpose of not wanting it to be too dark all at once. I really want to build up the intensity of this, so that's why I'm mixing in a little bit of a little smiley and with Cholita. So after doing that, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the shade right here. It's called Lil B, and I'm going to use that same brush, but instead of taking this all over my eyelid, I'm really just going to concentrate and focus it right here in the outer V, just to add slight definition. This really isn't going to deepen up the outer V too much, but it's going to add a little bit more of a contrast between the Cholita and Lil Smiley color. The next shade I'm going to take is a shade right here called Chola, and I'm going to use a Morphe M514, which to me is kind of like a smaller version of like an E40 by Sigma or something like that. It definitely is like a small blending brush that's perfect for taking this shadow and buffing and blending it out in the outer V. Like, I want to blend the shadow in the outer V, but I don't want to take it above that transitional shade. And since the brush is so small, it makes it very, very easy for me to do that. By the way, I'm not sure if you guys know, I am hosting a $250 giveaway with Colourpop in one of my previous videos. I will list it right up here in the cards if you guys want to check it out and enter for the chance to win your own $50 gift card. I definitely recommend that you guys enter that because Colourpop has some really, really awesome eyeshadows for such an affordable price. I really love the concept of a lot of their eyeshadow palettes. And as you can see, they're blending beautifully onto my eyelid. They're not getting patchy in the slightest bit, and they give off awesome, awesome color pigmentation. Next up, I'm going to take a little bit of this shade right here called Loca, and I'm going to take it on that same brush. This is definitely optional, but a little trick I really like to do to kind of warm up the look without making it look too warm or too orange is to take a little bit of a warm tone eyeshadow, so Loca, on the brush that I just used. I'm just going to lightly buff it right next to Chola. And again, this is just going to add a little bit of warmth, but it's not going to make it orange. I don't know what it is, but I've really been trying to stray away from very, very warm eyeshadows and just go for something a little bit more scaled back, a little bit more toned down, because I like the look of a neutral eye, but not orange. I used to love it, but now I'm just like, no, just a little bit of warmth, nothing too crazy, nothing too overwhelming. And I feel like adding this right here in that area really does that for me. So I think that's looking pretty good. Now it's time for me to actually go in with eyeliner. But before that, I do want to take just a little bit of Little Smiley like in the inner corner. So I'm gonna take a clean M433, pick up some of Little Smiley, and I'm just gonna kind of dust it in the very inner corner just to add a little bit of lightness to this area. Just gonna brighten it a little bit. And then I'm gonna go in with my eyeliner. I'm telling you guys, this look is very simple, very user-friendly. Anybody could do this look, and it's a look I've had on repeat for weeks at this point. Like, if you're new into the makeup game, you're gonna be able to create this with no problem. So the shade I'm gonna use for eyeliner is this dark brown right here. It's called Ruka, and I'm gonna take that on a flat definer brush. This is an A1 by Anastasia, and the reason I like to use this is because it does have more of a straight edge, so I'm able to really create straight lines with it. So I like to just open up my eye, and then I kind of like to stamp it right here in the outer V and then bring it out, just as long as I would like my liner to be. And then once I do that, I like to just slowly start to bring it in just like I would actual eyeliner. Now you can make this as curved or as straight as you want. Again, eyeshadow is so forgiving, it's unreal. So I like to really just take my time with this. When I get right here in like the very inner part of my eye, I do like to go a little bit slower. I like to go a little bit slower, just so that way I don't create it too thick. So once I have the general shape down for my shadow liner, I'm gonna take more of a fluffy brush. This is an M507. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that dark brown, and then I'm lightly gonna start diffusing out the edges and the lines, just so that way it appears a lot softer than what it actually looks right now. I feel like the edge kind of looks a little sharp and harsh, so I'm really just gonna go in and diffuse it. This is the key to ensuring that it doesn't look a little bit too wonky. Like if you mess up, just go in and buff out the edges and it will look like it was purposely done like that. So this is a trick I really like to do, especially like if I'm on the run or if I'm on the go, if I need to be out the door super quick. This is like my little quick tip. Instead of going in with liquid eyeliner, I actually do shadow liner. So I'm feeling good, I'm looking good. Don't mind the outer V right here. I definitely need to go in with a little bit of makeup remover on a Q-tip and then kind of clean up this area. But before I do that, I do want to take a little bit more of the shade called Chola on a clean M441 by Morphe. And I'm just gonna take this right here in the very like outer V socket just to deepen it up and create more dimension. You want to make sure that this is very well blended though, because you don't want stark, harsh lines going into that liner. So just be very careful. And then whatever's left on the brush, I'm just going to lightly feather it in the very inner 1/3 of my eye. So I definitely feel like we're in a really good place right now. I am gonna take a little bit of eye makeup remover by Neutrogena on a Q-tip. Almost forgot what this was called. I just like to dip my Q-tip inside the makeup remover, and then I will just simply clean up this very outer part. And it's gonna create more of like a sharper, cleaner look. Now I'm gonna go in with false lashes. I will be using these by Lily Lashes. These are in the style Miami Flare. I love the way these look. I love how fluffy they are. And I think they go really well with a very soft glam eye look like I have on right now. So I'm gonna take a little bit of lash glue. We're gonna pop these on and then move on to the rest of the face. Following that, I'm gonna take a little bit of mascara and I'm just gonna coat this through the base of my lash. I'm not gonna put it through like the entire lash, but I'm just gonna kind of just coat my lashes with these false lashes just so that way they blend a little bit better together. chill, right? I'm gonna wait for that lash glue to dry down just a little bit more, and while I do that, I'm gonna work on the rest of my face to prep my skin before primer and foundation. I'm gonna go in with this by Bobbi Brown. This here is the Vitamin Enrich Face Base. You guys recommended this to me last year and I cannot get enough of it. It is so good. Can't believe it's taken me so long to try it, and anytime I use it, I feel like I say the exact same thing, but it honestly is that good. It really preps my skin before not only primer but foundation, and it really moisturizes my skin like no other. So I'm gonna put this all over to really add nice hydration to my skin. Now, don't get me wrong, you can definitely lay this down as a primer, but I do actually like to double prime. So this is just the, I guess, the first primer I like to use before I go in with my next primer. And I am keeping you guys very much zoomed in for this step because a lot of you actually told me that you would prefer if I sat here really zoomed in when I did my face makeup. And it makes sense. You guys want to see how the products perform, how they look on my skin, but hello skin, do you see how glowy and just luminous that product really made my skin? Like, it's almost like it drank a whole glass of water. It is that good. The next face primer I'm gonna use is this one right here by e.l.f. This is their brand new matte putty primer, and this is actually my first time using it. I did tell you guys in my last like full face testing out drugstore makeup video that I would use this again, or I would use it for the first time on camera, because I'm very interested in seeing how it actually wears and if in fact it does keep my skin matte for a period of time. I'm going to buff and blend it out with this brush right here. It is a number 47 brush by Sephora Collection. Probably one of my favorite brushes to apply a thicker primer like this. I also really like this brush for cream contour. It's incredible, but as you can see, I'm really focusing this primer in the very center of my face. This is gonna smooth my skin and also mattify it a little bit. It's not like super duper matte, but I definitely see like mattifying properties compared to this side over here. Whatever's left on the brush, I'm just gonna kind of run it on my forehead, pretty much down my T-zone, all the areas that I want to stay pretty matte throughout the day. After primer, I'm gonna do a little bit of color correcting. You guys already know my collab No Flaws liquid color correctors are holy grail for me right now. I'm gonna use a light peach right underneath my eyes. I'm also gonna take this around my mouth and on my upper lip. Then I'm gonna go in with just a little bit more of like dark peach, especially like underneath my eyes, because that is an area that I do struggle quite a bit with darkness. I'm just gonna pop a little bit of this like right here. A little bit goes a very long way, so trust me when I tell you, you don't need a lot at all or you'll look like an Oompa Loompa. And honey, been there, done that. You don't want that. I'm gonna take my damp e.l.f. sponge that costs like $5. Very good for the price point. It's honestly better than a beauty blender in my personal opinion. So I'm gonna use that to really lightly blend this area. Also probably gonna take a little bit of that dark peach color corrector right around my nose, because as you can see, I do have some darkness right there. You guys are definitely gonna have to let me know how you feel about this being this zoomed in doing my base makeup. I'd love to know. For powder, I am gonna set down that color corrector just a little bit. I'm gonna use this powder right here by Cover FX. This is the Perfect Setting Powder. I used this once and I do really like it. It is a talc-free powder as well. I've been really trying to stray away from loose powders or just powders in general that have talc in them. So I've been switching to this one and so far so good. I have no complaints. A lot of you always ask me why I take a loose powder over my color corrector, and the reason I do that is so that way it stays in place and it doesn't move around at all, because sometimes I notice when I go in with like liquid foundation, my color corrector tends to blend in with the foundation, making my foundation look orange. So I really like to set it down and in place just so that way it doesn't smudge, budge, or move throughout the foundation process. So a little quick tip, I just apply a little bit of loose powder. I don't go in and bake per se. I really like to just dust it with a fluffy brush and I'm good to go. So for foundation, I will be using this one right here by Too Faced. This is a Holy Grail high-end foundation for me. I always go back to it. The shade I'm using is light beige, in case you guys were curious. I'm gonna take the other side of my e.l.f. sponge and I'm just gonna go to town and work this in. This gives me amazing coverage without looking heavy or cakey at all. Like, do you see? It covered up so much. Crazy. Now it does go on pretty wet, but I do like for this to kind of dry down before I go in with concealer and powder. And holy moly, we're so up close and personal. You can see all my little hairs on my face. Sorry if that's a little cringe, but I do have hair on my face. Hello, I'm human. And I'm a little hairy. I also like to take the foundation onto my ears, especially if it is just slightly darker. And in this case, this foundation is just a little bit darker than my neck, so I do also like to take it down my neck as well. So 1 to 10, I'm so obsessed with the way this foundation looks on my skin. You guys be the judge. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. So I'm done with foundation. I am going to move on to concealer. I will be using a tried and true Holy Grail concealer that I absolutely love. This is by Flower Beauty. This is the Light Illusion Concealer. It's medium to full on coverage, and I love that about this concealer because I can really build it up to my desired intensity. By the way, not sure if I told you, but I am using the shade Light to really just brighten up my under eye area. I'm also going to take this down the center of my face to highlight Cupid's bow, bridge of nose, and also the center of my forehead. I'm a little extra sometimes, not gonna lie. Taking that same sponge, I'm gonna just tap it out. And a little trick I really like to do with concealer is I like to tap it out until it starts to get tacky. Then I'll go in with my loose powder because then I know my loose powder is really gonna stick and hold on to it all day long. Now I'm gonna go back into that Cover FX powder and I'm gonna use this to set that concealer down and in place. As you can see, I already set down this eye right here. I like to just look up and then I like to press the powder underneath my eyes. I don't really love to bake, so I like to just press the powder underneath my eyes until you cannot see it anymore, until it really just, you know, melts into the concealer and really just locks it down in place. This really just ensures that I don't get like a really heavy cakey look whatsoever. I'm also gonna take that powder alongside my nose, down the center of my face and my chin. Oh wow, you can see all my hairs. Wow, I need to get that. So following that, I'm gonna go in with the Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Setting Powder. This is a translucent powder. Even though it looks super dark in the pan, it's going to set my makeup down and in place and just make sure it doesn't go anywhere. This is like one of my favorite powders, especially considering I do live in Florida, so it's very easy for my foundation to just melt off my face, but that's not the case with this powder. So if you guys have been on the fence about it, just know I highly recommend. So before I move on to blush, bronzer, and highlight, I do want to finish off my lower lash line. So I'm going to jump right back into the Hola Chola palette, and I'm going to take that flat definer brush and I'm going to pick up the shade called Cholita, and I'm just going to really just smoke it out, smudge it on my very lower lash line. This is going to connect my lower lash line with the shadow on my lid, making it like come together and look a little bit more whole. Switching over to a fluffy M507, I'm going to lightly smoke this out. This is actually the first color I'm gonna apply down here, and then I'm gonna lightly deepen it up, but this is kind of like the transition color on my lower lash line, if you get me. Picking up a little bit of the shade called Lil B, I'm just going to stamp this on the very outer V, and then I'm also going to stamp a little bit of the shade called Chola right here in the outer V. I always say this step is totally optional because I feel like people are very iffy about putting like nude in their waterline, but I'm gonna take the Intense Stay Auto Liner by LA Girl. This one is in the shade Super Bright, and I'm gonna put it in my waterline. This is really just gonna give me like that bright-eyed effect, and I really love the way it looks in pictures. You can definitely see I went a little off-roading, so I'm just gonna take that flat definer brush, and I'm just gonna blend that nude liner in with the waterline, and we're good. Then I'm gonna coat my lower lashes with a little bit of mascara. This is just my MAC Extended Play Giga Black Lash Mascara, and I really like it because the wand's like super small, so it can easily like coat these lower lashes here. I'm telling you guys, this is like my go-to glam. It's my go-to look. I love the way that this looks for any and every occasion. Even just going to the grocery store.
Huh? What? Oh. Okay.
So I did zoom you out just a little bit for my own personal sanity and for me being able to actually see what I'm doing. When I'm like super up close and personal, like on my face, I can barely see like my face. I don't know what's working, what's blended, and what's not. So I am gonna go in with bronzer now. I'm gonna use the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer in the shade Suntan. And I'm gonna take it on this brush right here. I wanna say that this is a Morphe M527. There's a MAC one that is very similar to this. I do actually prefer the MAC one a lot better because if you can see in comparison, the MAC one just looks a lot softer and a lot smaller in size, whereas this one looks a little bit frayed and frazzled. So not my favorite, but it definitely is a cheaper alternative to the MAC one. I'm just gonna take this and use it to add some color along the perimeter of my face. So a blush I absolutely cannot stop reaching for is this one right here by Kylie Cosmetics. This is in the shade We're Going Shopping. And this is such a beautiful shade for me personally. It's kind of like a peachy color. Y'all know how I feel about a good peach blush. Hopefully we can switch to something a little bit different this year, but it's not likely because I really live and breathe for a beautiful peach blush like this. I'm also going to take a little bit of Jaclyn's Luminous Powder. I really like to use this right before I go in with highlighter. It just gives me a really, really beautiful luminous effect without being too glittery or too shiny. And this is a step I've really been loving in my routine. And I like to just blush it. I like to brush it right over my blush just to give it a really pretty effect. I'm also gonna run this on my temples, chin, Cupid's bow, and down the bridge of my nose. Tell me you're not living for this soft glam makeup look. Tell me you're not. Anyways, let's move on to highlighter. I will be using this little Dior quad that I picked up on a whim. Honestly, I live and breathe for Dior highlighter, so I really wanted to see what this one was all about. I'm gonna mix this shade and this shade, actually this shade and this shade. This shade, this shade, this shade. You know what, we're gonna do a cocktail of some sort, just probably dip it in all three, and then I'm gonna smile and then just hit it right here on the apples of my cheeks. Because, ugh, Dior highlighters are something special. And by the way, I am applying it with that blush brush just because I'm not into like a streak of highlight. I really just want a really pretty luminosity on the apples of my cheeks. So I like to diffuse it out. I'm also gonna take a little bit of this highlighter here and I'm gonna pop it in the inner corner just to add some shine, just because the rest of the look is relatively matte. Like, don't get me wrong, the look is very fresh, dewy, glowy at this point, but the eyes are still matte. So I wanna add some shine, and then whatever's left on the brush, I'm just gonna hit it on my brow bone. Wow, I feel like we got through this look super, super fast. I'm gonna finish off the lips. I've been obsessed with this lip combo. This is KKW Beauty number 2 lip liner. So I'm gonna use this to line my lips completely. Then I'm gonna go in with the KKW lipstick in the shade number 3. Sometimes I like to go in with 2, but today, you know what, actually I am gonna go in with 2. 3 is just slightly deeper than 2. This is definitely gonna give me that ombre effect, so why not? The last and final step is to go in with a little bit of setting spray. I'm gonna use the Catrice Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray. Spot on Dew for MAC Fix Plus and the Anastasia Dewy set. Definitely get your hands on it. It's like $7. Rude. All right, Slay Bae, so this right here is the final and completed look. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. I'll definitely say that this is a soft glam makeup look that's instantly gonna make you feel and look put together with very little to no effort. I know I used a lot of products in today's video, but I still feel like it looks very fresh, and like I said, it's very user-friendly, and I did use a variety of products from affordable to high-end, so I think a lot of you can create this look with products you already have at home. You don't even have to go out and pick up any of the products I showed in today's video. I really love it. Let me know your thoughts, and if you guys want to see any more videos just like this, let me know by giving this video a big ol' like. Subscribe to my channel if you guys haven't already. Like, what are you waiting for? Press that subscribe button and click that bell so that way YouTube will notify you when I upload. I love you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll be sure to catch you guys all on the next one. Deuces.